A bit over 3 years ago, the South Australian Labor Party, under my leadership, made a commitment that we would bring the Supercars event back to the state of South Australia in the event that we were elected. We were elected, and everyone said it wouldn't be done. It was too hard, infrastructure had been sold off, there had been too far gone in order to be able to bring it back. But within months, literally, less than 12 months of being elected, we were able to stage the first Supercars event on the streets of Adelaide by the end of 2022, and there's been a couple of iterations since then. Each and every of those events have grown on one another, and last year we were particularly satisfied about the results of the Adelaide 500 in terms of the response from interstate visitation and overseas visitation as well, in terms of the impact on the state's economy. We're very grateful to Valo for their sponsorship over the initial 3 years. It was always a 3-year deal, and that has come to a conclusion, which presents an opportunity for a new sponsor. The team from the Motorsport Board, led by Andrew Daniels and Mark Warham, have been in the market looking for a new sponsor for this event. Two things are happening at the same time, which we are grateful for. The first is that the format of the Adelaide 500 is changing to the brand new Grand Final format. This is the first time that Supercars in this country has unleashed the power of a Grand Final format, which we anticipate will only result in the growth of the sport and the event. We commend Supercars for this innovation, and we are grateful that they have decided that the Grand Final will be hosted on the streets of Adelaide. Where else could they have it, if we're honest about it? But we are very excited about the power of this new platform. Simultaneously, we've been in the market for a new sponsor. This time around was very different to this undertaking 3 years ago. 3 years ago, we had less time, and we were seeking to bring back an event that otherwise had been in a period of hiatus. The result of having 3 years of demonstrated growth and performance of the event meant that getting a new sponsor was a lot easier this time than what it was 3 years ago. There was competition to be the naming rights and major sponsor of the Adelaide Grand Final for the Supercars. That is something we welcome. Our aspirations as a state in the pursuit of a new sponsor was not just to look local, but to look national and international for that naming rights sponsor. A brand that has national and international recognition is consistent with our objective of growing the event. The power of a new sponsor to be able to not make just a contribution financially to the event, although that is important and welcome, but also the power of that new brand and that new sponsor to be able to elevate the event and broadcast its reach to new markets is something that we always were seeking. I'm very pleased that today we are in a position to announce who the sponsor is of the Adelaide Grand Final, and I'm very excited that, of course, it meets each and every one of these objectives. The new sponsor has major reach throughout the nation with over 1,300 retail outlets and a rewards program that has over 3 million members. The reach and the power of that is indescribable and is a step up on where we have been for any other major naming rights sponsor in the past. The financial contribution is also substantial. You'll appreciate that I can't go into details of that because of commercial and confidence reasons. But between the financial contribution from this company, its broad reach and appeal, I am very, very grateful for the support indeed. So without any further ado, I am very pleased to be able to announce that the new major naming rights sponsor of the Supercars Grand Final to be hosted here in Adelaide is BP.
Waving the green flag for the BP Adelaide Grand Final and continuing our relationship and partnership with Supercars and Motorsport. We've had 5 years with Supercars and we've achieved a great deal with them. We have about 1.1 million Supercar fans that actually shop with BP every quarter, and we're looking to build on that. And I think the BP Adelaide Grand Final will absolutely bring more to that. We'll definitely be putting the BP Quality Fuels through its paces at the Grand Final. It'll be in all of the Supercar engines, and we'll have our Tickford driver, Thomas Randall. I call him Tom, Thomas Randall on the track as well. So really looking forward to that. There's some exclusive offers that'll be out very shortly for those that are signed up to our BP Rewards. And I heard the Premier mention before we've got over 3 million members. So keep an eye out for those exclusive offers. And Adelaide, start your engines. Thank you. Over to you, Tom.
If I could invite both Premier and Thomas and Amanda, if you can stay with me, just we'll take some questions. Thank you.
Stand here.
Amanda, what through you with the really nice to be
Adelaide Supercars, isn't it? That you want to be, that you're going to see in the it is posted. Why did you need this event to be part of the year?
Yeah, extremely competitive, but it was probably one of the. I get a lot of things across my desk, and this one was a really easy one for us to make a decision on. It took a little bit of convincing. Obviously, we've got budgets, but just with the Supercars connection that we already had, we're investing in South Australia. We've just purchased X-Convenience, and we're invested in, as our dealer partners are as well, in this particular market. So it made absolute sense that we would take up the opportunity and continue our motorsports opportunity, but also within South Australia as well. The agreement is for 3 plus 1. Yeah, yeah. We would love to have been. So who knows? I don't have a crystal ball on that one.
You would have already been having negotiations, say, a year or so ago.
No, just more recently at the end of last year.
Yeah. So can you give a behalf of how many other companies were in the race this year, and what sort of flavour? Did there a local flavour, a Stanford flavour? How other did you prefer now?
Well, I'll start with the end there. The choice actually in the end was quite simple, but I think becoming the grand final format for Supercars brought a lot of attention to the event even before we had last year's event. And so there was a lot of interest, both from national, international, and of course local companies that wanted to be part of the event and still want to be part of the event. But when it came down to the proposition of having someone like a BP that has such a national reach, and it was just a perfect fit. The synergies in any partnership are the most critical thing. It's not about the dollars, it's about what together you can do. And I think that with the promotion of the BP Adelaide Grand Final to a national sporting audience through the networks that BP have, together with us promoting the event nationally and the local investment that BP are making into South Australia, it was just a natural fit for the two parties to come together. Oh, that's a tough question. Look, there was, let me just say it was more than 3, but less than 10. How about that?
The May from Adelaide Grand Final, actually exploit from the last Grand Prix that you about it all.
There are lots of inspirations for how we've arrived at this. We pushed very hard for this final round to be the decider of the championship for Supercars, have been since day dot from when we brought it back in 2022. So to actually bring about this finals format is something that Supercars needed to consider with many stakeholders, as you would appreciate. But we said all from the outset, if we can be the grand final, and the significance of grand final in any sports, I think is the thing that really delivers value both for their championship, but also for us as an event as well.
couple of public gigs I did they like ordered a mark to buy a gig there. Did I have it taken so long to get they did it online the website?
Well, you're not the sponsor until you're not the sponsor. And we've now got a new one, and we're in a position to be able to announce that, which is something we're very, very grateful for. Well, look. Let me be absolutely plain about this. The state government and the motorsport community throughout the state are very grateful for the support that Valo have shown this event as we brought it back. That support was substantial and was also more than just financial. They made a number of other contributions to the event, and we appreciate it. And whatever the future for Valo is, I wish it well and all the very best, but we're excited about this new future. We've got the grand final in front of us. It builds on the momentum that we've been generating across the last 3 years. The first year when we brought it back, no one really knew how it was going to go. There was such a short runway to get it happening, and we pulled it off and beat expectations. Second year was you wonder, is the first year just a bit of interest? Turned out it was very genuine interest because it grew, and then last year particularly grew. And I think much of the satisfaction we drew from last year was we started to see the interstate visitors return. I think the first year there was a bit of lack of confidence because it was all just sort of starting up again. People didn't know how long-term the commitment was. I think the market now can factor it in that this government is absolutely committed to this event. We've got a new format, which is something we've always wanted. When I first sat down with Supercars in 2021, maybe even earlier, I said we want the race to come back. We wanted to move from the start of the season to the end, and we wanted it to be the concluding race that determined the outcome. Now, determining the outcome is a big deal because it means people can book their tickets to come to this event today in the knowledge that it won't be decided before it occurs. They can book tickets to this event knowing it's not going to be a dead rubber, it's going to be a red hot race to determine the winner. And that is a very exciting proposition indeed. And in no small part, I think it has contributed to the quality of the sponsor that we've been able to get in this instance. Yeah. So we're going through a process of reconciling or reconciliation with Valo in terms of where we're at on the dollars that they've committed to us. I'm very pleased that overwhelmingly the government has been able to see its sponsorship arrangement with Valo being honoured. There are more than just financial contributions that were made under that contract. There are other contributions. Valo, of course, being a producer of video screens is a good, for instance, good example there. And what we are exploring with Valo at the moment is the possibility of what may be a potential transfer of those looks like versus the other elements. So there is a reconciliation that is going underway, and we hope that they'll be concluded at some point in the not too distant future. Look, I'm not going to start going into the commercial and confidence nature of the former agreement or this one, except to say this. The sponsorship that we have from BP for the grand final elevates the opportunity of this event in every respect. And we're really, really happy about it. We were rapt that there was more than one player with serious interest. There was I guess a bit of a blessing of riches moment in terms of the choices that had to be made. But the BP offer made it a compelling case and a bit of a no-brainer. Like I said, there are 3 million loyalty customers. They're going to hear about the Adelaide Grand Final a lot between now and the end of the year. People visiting over 1,300 outlets across the nation, they're going to know about the Adelaide Grand Final. And then, of course, there is the power of us to invest in the event thanks to the sponsorship. So we're really pleased with where it's landed, and it's onwards and upwards from here.
When you talk about the event and the brand benefiting each other, was this not a chance for race to help show a South Australian company as the front of the...
We get that throughout. Yeah, it's a good question. We get that throughout the event in every respect. But this is a this is a serious national event. It is the grand final for the most watched motorsport in the country outside of F1. It is our domestic form of motorsport that is professional, and it's a grand final. And my obligation, and the motorsport's obligation, is to deliver the best bang for buck on the back of the event. We should be proud of the fact that we've got an international company vying to sponsor this event in our state because we want its reach to grow. No different to what we saw on the weekend. No different to what was announced at the beginning of the week. So, look, if a local company wants to participate, there are still more than enough opportunities through sponsorship regimes, and Mark and his team work quite closely with a range of great South Australian companies in that regard.
And the two sports-related questions. How does the Supercars Grand Final stack up to backers? And secondly, if you like to keep the Supercars Grand Final in Adelaide as long as the AFL Grand Final is.
Well, I'll do the first one. Look, Bathurst, it is just one of the most iconic weekends in Australian sport, and that's never going to change. And we wouldn't want it to change. But this is a different offering. Instead of people having to necessarily camp, they can stay in a great hotel, visit a winery and a beach, and go to a grand final all at the same time. Hard to do that in Bathurst. So look, the Adelaide event has got its own distinctive characteristics against Bathurst, and I think, you know, the truest motorsport fans in the country probably want to do both. Year on year, this event has been awarded as the best in the country in terms of motorsport, and beat Bathurst for that, and that is because of the overall amenity and also the accessibility. We can't wait at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future, to announce the Music Act. And when you combine the motorsport offering, which extends beyond just the Supercars Grand Final, but also all the off-track entertainment as well, and the price point that it is granted to the community, it is very family-friendly, accessible type of event. And in the same way as Gather Round, we want to keep it that way. We want families to be able to enjoy this event. The corporates are important. Don't worry, Amanda, you'll have good seats. But we want families to be able to enjoy it too, and that accessibility is something we are committed to. So it's a big value proposition. And I think that's different to what we might see elsewhere. In terms of the G, look, I've come around on this. My view was that the grand final should always be the G. The problem with the grand final of the G is that only 38,000 of the seats that are given away are reserved for fans who are members of the participating clubs. So it doesn't provide the degree of accessibility that this event can. So this grand final is for the people. Everyone will be able to buy a ticket, and they'll be able to do it at an affordable price point, and at the end of the day see a pretty good Music Act, depending on how we go on those final negotiations. So we're really excited about this. It's got its own place on the sporting calendar, and I think that'll be increasingly true as we now are home to the grand final.
Did you have any reservations about the substrate selling itself as a renewable energy state, branding of a traditional fuel supplier or this way, so there may be inconsistency?
No, I don't think so. Look, we are proudly a state that is committed to decarbonisation and leading the world in that regard. Doesn't mean we can't enjoy motorsport. And, you know, motorsport is an event which requires petrol, and BP makes some pretty good petrol, as it turns out, as Thomas can probably attest to better than me. I got a Kia Carnival, Tom, so I hate to admit it, mate. It's diesel, so it's not quite your premium unleaded version, Amanda, but it took me a while to.
As long as you keep putting diesel in it.
Yeah,
Don't put.
I've got a story about that, but that's another time. But so it took me a while to come to grips with driving a people mover, but I've actually grown to quite like it.
That's what most of the owners of Carnival say.
Yeah, it's reduced fighting in the back seat by at least 23%. There's a few different options. Yeah, they're very much in the final stages. You know, pinning down the music acts is not an easy thing these days because they're getting called upon from all different markets all of the time. We've got a few different irons in the fire. I think the music acts the last 3 years have been pretty good, and we're actively in the market on this at the moment, and I don't think we're too far away from an announcement or a decision that we have to make, and then in turn an announcement. I'm not gonna speculate.
Can I just clarify for is there money or contract outstanding for Bailey because they blooded his Steve Seepers to cover?
Look, what I would say is that we're in a process of negotiation with Valo and their representatives. There is a combination between the two that can be reconciled in a way that we think represents the right outcome for the state, and there is still work to be done there.
What about if you do get a still made on their like the dump in that? So say it's a bit of so they put up sign at the Adelaide Park and there's the bay.
No, look, we tend not to, I wouldn't characterise it that way. Look, there are clear legal obligations upon everyone who contracts anybody else to do work on their behalf, and it's up for those organisations to fulfil their obligations. That's the way it works. As a state, we fulfil ours, and we expect other people to fulfil theirs.
What's your aspiration with the music acts? Like, obviously, Don for October, bear as a sponsor to elevate the event. What sort of
the bigger the better. That'd be the simple way to describe it. I don't think we should hide the events lied under a bushel. We've got an international sponsor. We've got a major national television reach. We've got an audience that comes from all parts of the nation, and we want that to continue to grow. And I think the Music Act helps contribute to that. Look, it won't be every single year that we'll be able to land the same types of acts at the same, I guess, degree of infamy. But we're committed each and every year to get the best one we can within the budget.
Does an international brand help bring an international act though? Do they?
I don't think it hurts. I don't think it hurts. Yeah, look, there is a power to the BP brand. It is one of the world's most known globally. That is undeniable. And that's why we're so grateful to have a company of this international status supporting this event. Speaks to where the event is at and its capacity to grow into the future. And I think Mark nailed it. What we like the idea of is being a great corporate partner to BP. We want BP to get as much value out of this as they can. And we think there is a lot of potential yet in this event, particularly now it enjoys the status of the grand final.
About sound to you, what is mean to drivers, and is it going to change your mind that is it editing to Adelaide not being in the top 4 position? How does that change the driver's mindset? Would be right like that.
Well, I guess to just echo what Mark and the Premier have said, the fact that we have this final system, it's obviously a massive change for us. And up until this point, it's all just been about banking championship points. So in the past, you've seen potentially someone going into the finals or the final round, they could have a 150-point buffer or 200-point buffer. So they know that they can just cruise home on that first race and, they can win. But there's so many things that happen through the year that, like if you have a few mechanical issues, but you have the speed, that can hamper you not having a chance at the end. But if you get into that final system and it's down to those top 4, then you're in a shot. And I think you sort of touched on it very well, Mark, that if you have a bad race on Friday, that's going to ruin your chances. But if you're not in the top 4, you actually don't care about the top 4. So you're thinking, I'm just here to win. And I know that it's not going to affect really too much. But yeah, being in the top 4, that's what all the drivers like myself want to be in when we get to that round. And I think we can all agree the last race there last year was pretty full on, and it was the perfect way as a curtain closer for the championship. And we've already seen such incredible racing this year, and I think the fact that going into that round you're not going to know who's going to win it is pretty exciting.
Popular new format with the drivers with the final series?
It definitely, yeah. I guess when it was first announced, we weren't quite sure how it was going to work, and then once we realised that it was, okay, as soon as Bathurst is over, it's the top 10 that go to Gold Coast, and then 3 are eliminated from there, and then 3 get eliminated from Sandown, and then you're left with the top 4. It's certainly already put a massive emphasis on our race weekends, and like even towards the back end of the year when it got announced, when we were racing in Adelaide, for example, last year, we were already thinking 12 months ahead about, okay, we need to be strong here, we need to try some things so that when we come here in 12 months' time, we have a good car, a good package. Because if you're not good on the day or that weekend, then you don't have a chance of winning the championship. Obviously, you've got to be in the top 4, but if the 3 others in front of you are too strong, then you haven't got a chance. But the cool thing, it's kind of no different to AFL, what we saw last year. You know, the Swans were pretty much unbeatable all year, and at the end of the day, on the day, Brisbane were obviously very strong. Of the weekend, or? Yeah, well, it's going to change. I think what it will change is how aggressive we are as drivers. And in the past, if you were in a good spot in the championship, like if you were leading and say you were going to make a move on a car, and there was a bit of risk to it, you might think, okay, I don't actually need to do that because I'm going to bank good points here. But this year, it's like, well, actually, I think I've got to do that pass because if I don't make the move, then I might not win the championship. So there's a lot more risk that's got to be calculated from us as drivers. And like I said before, we've already seen such incredible racing, even just on the weekend in Taupo in New Zealand. There was action aplenty, and at the Grand Prix and Sydney Motorsport Park had probably one of the best races in a long time. So I don't think we're going to expect much less when we get to Adelaide. And I mean, it is probably everyone's, outside of Bathurst, that's its own thing, like the Premier said. It would be, I would say, everyone's favourite track. Why is that? I think the nature of the circuit, what it offers, and I mean, it is obviously a street circuit, but it's just got so many different elements to it. The centre chicane, how you have to approach that and attack that. You have to be very meticulous and methodical. And then the infamous turn 8, that's probably still the craziest corner in Australian motorsport. It's one small mistake and you can be in the wall. And last year in qualifying, we saw 3 cars go in within the space of like 30 seconds. So it's a lot of risk versus reward in qualifying. And this year, the fact we have another race on Friday, that's extremely exciting for all the fans. It's just more racing, what everyone wants to see. So, and it's a lot of more pressure on us as drivers and the engineers to make sure we put our best foot forward, because you just won't be able to rest. You won't be able to rest up, and it's just going to be max attack. How do we turn the lights on? That's what I want to know. I want to get these lights going. You reckon? It's even got exhaust modes, not like the Carnival. Oh, there we go. Maybe you need to be in the course car at the race meeting.
I've actually thought about doing that.
Have you done a hot lap there?
I haven't.
Oh, we've got to arrange that. We've got to arrange that. That'd be good.
One day I would like to.
Yeah.
Absolute sensation.
So we just go full beans. There we go. Yeah. Nice. And then make sure you put in park.
How's that carnival now from here? Yeah, just a bit better, mate.
Although you can't fit,
Yeah, that's right. And if we could pick up and look at the trophy again together and.
Yeah, you pick it up.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Don't drop it.
Good.
I don't know where I'm looking at.
Yep. All right. We'll move it. We'll move around here.
Beautiful, thanks guys. And then on me as well. Just going to keep that going into the Gold Coast. That's it. And everything's possible.
And just here as well.
Thanks guys. 3, 2.
One handshake with the two of you.
Sure.
For the Tizer. Thank you. All right. Beautiful. Looking at Tim down the middle here.
Which one's Tim? That
Tim
one.
is in there with the official signing. Just doing the handshake
Very firm handshake. Right? So,
from a clear driver.
Yeah,
Awesome. I think we're
handshakes.
done, guys.
one more. All right, let's make it a good one. Hey?
This is the one.
Yeah. I'm not going to wash this hand anymore, you know?
Thank you.